Thanks for joining us this morning. Today, we're going to run through our P6-Reporter tool. I'm Nicole Jardin, joining you actually from Montreal today, normally in Calgary, and I'm the founder and CEO of Emerald. We also have Marilyn Backstrom, who is in Edmonton. She's one of our implementation specialists, and she's going to run through the deep dive on the software. We also have James Andrade with us. He's one of our key programmers, and he does a lot of our P6-Reporter work. So you've got the team here. If you have any questions, you can ask them as we run through. So let me talk about why we built P6-Reporter. So this tool we've had for a long time. We originally had two tools called EP Data Warehouse and EP Dashboard. Now, our dashboard tool was built on Adobe Flex technology, which ended up being open sourced and didn't really continue to be supported. So rather than go back and build our own dashboard, we put all our efforts into the dashboard, the data warehouse component, which is P6-Reporter. So we've changed the name just to convey what it is. And the real thing here is people have so much fantastic data sitting in P6, but not a very easy way to get it out and share it with the team and share it in a way that they can really use it. Okay, so that's the typical struggle all P6 users have. So the data, if you start to try and grab it through the back end, which some people do, which is not a very good idea, can be kind of complicated, right? So we have lots of different things. We've got projects, we've got WBSs, activities, resources, expenses, roles, got lots of different layers. So the data can be pretty complicated if you're going to try and start grabbing it on the back end. So P6-Reporter, we make that a lot easier. We take hundreds of tables and we make it into a lot less. And that makes it a lot easier to work with. Plus, we've pre-built what's called queries or data grabs, whatever way you want to talk about it. We've pre-built them so that it's easier to get a good starting point. Because the data is there, but you can't share it easily with your extended team. Now, not all of your team members will be in P6 with you. Mostly it's usually project controls folks or just a few scheduling folks. So they're not in the software with you. So we need a way to get that data out so they can use it, right? So most companies, more and more, have some sort of corporate dashboarding. So we're trying to get that data into that corporate dashboarding. So the extended team has what they need. Now, trying to get that data out of P6 and get it out accurately, especially when you have resources spread over periods of time, that's not easy. Now, you might pull it out into Excel and do that every week or every month. You can do all that, but it's not efficient. It's not efficient at all. And making sure it's accurate is not easy either. Okay, it's easy to filter wrong. It's easy to grab the spreads wrong. Some values are just calculated on the screen in P6 and they're not in the database. So you can't even get them when you use that technique. So these are reasons why we built our P6-Reporter. Okay, it's to snapshot the data out of the live P6 into a reporting warehouse database where it's controlled. It's not off the live data where if I do an F9 and I've changed the duration from 10 days to 100, my whole schedule is screwed up, right? We're not using live data. We push the data into the warehouse and it can be pushed automatically or it can be pushed by the user very easily with just a few clicks, okay? So that it's efficient, it's controlled, it's organized, and you can also automate it. So you can run it every night if you wish. You can run it once a week. You can run it once a month. Okay, so we have both techniques which work really, really well. So it becomes organized, and then the data that your team is using out in whatever they're using, Power BI, Tableau, SAP, business objects, etc. They have the data now in a nice, controlled, organized, repeatable way where they can make those business decisions. So that's the whole objective and why we built this tool. So let's just ask a quick question here. So how do you get reports from P6? So I'm always curious how people are very inventive, very, very clever people. How are you doing it? A lot of people use Excel and maybe do dashboarding in Excel. The other one we see often is Excel and Power BI. A little less on the Access database. That's maybe an old question now, but pretty common. You're seeing that in some of the answers that people provided. And then the other question I always like to ask is, have you got self-serve dashboards? So to me, this is a critical thing because we have people working often all over the world in different time zones. So do you even have self-serve dashboards? Have you got there with your group yet? Because that's something that's really worth striving for. And what that really means is you can get someone a dashboard where they have some filtering so they can see, you know, a variety of different data in a way that's usable for them. So that's what I wanted to know. So it's still something that's a gap, and that's what we see in the marketplace. More and more people are trying to close that gap. Okay, so let me touch on how it works, and then I'll turn it over to Mary Lynn, and she can show you how it works. So as I mentioned, we have snapshots. So the user says, I'm ready to take this P6 and make a snapshot. It's not a baseline. We don't use a baseline. It's a similar concept, but it snapshots the data out into the warehouse. It takes the P6 data, including the spreads, and the spreads are the time-based data. So if you hear us use the term spreads, that's what that means. It's the daily, hourly resource and expense pieces. Then you can have multiple snapshots sitting in this warehouse. So that's another huge benefit. If we want to compare last month's with 3 months ago, or last month with last year, if we want to compare this project to another project in this month, you can do all that very easily out in the from the warehouse in P6-Reporter out to your reporting engine. Okay, so it just brings a lot more flexibility to your reporting capabilities. Okay, across the board. So I mentioned it's a snapshotting and that the tables are easier to work with. We have a lot less tables, so that's what denormalizing is. And as I mentioned, we've got the spreads. And we essentially cross over data at all the different levels. So we have project level data, we have activity level data, we've got spreads data, and we've got scheduling information like calendars and the logic, things like that. Okay, so you could do comparisons of schedules. That's why we've got that data. And then we've got those views or that pull the data out pre-built, and we add client specifics with your codes, user-defined fields, and then the reporting is pushed out to your data display. And that's pretty much how it works. Okay, so it gives you the ability to do the data comparisons, as I mentioned, and have standard KPI reporting components out in your corporate dashboarding. Okay, so I will hand it over to Mary Lynn, and she will do the deep dive and show us how it works. Coming your way, Mary Lynn.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Okay.
Okay, I'll just get my screen share going here and we can have a look at this. Okay, you should be seeing a file in my P6. What I wanted to show you first of all, Nicole did talk about snapshots. Well, you might be wondering how much work is actually involved in taking these snapshots. Because, I mean, realistically, of course, if running your reports takes you a couple hours, if the snapshotting, which it doesn't, but if the snapshotting was labor intensive, time consuming, that kind of thing, it's going to be kind of a equal balance. Are you really winning too much? But it doesn't take as long as generating reports and either PDFing them or printing them or whatever you need. So if we need to go in and make some changes to our file, first of all, I'll go into some reports and I'll show you here what I'm actually building up to here. So this is Power BI. Now we have what we refer to as a racetrack display here. Now I'll just make it a little bit easier to see the whole thing. Now for this particular file, and this is a file that I have open in P6, we have updates the 15th of October, 15th of November. So you can compare where the different roll-ups are sitting date-wise across that particular project. Now, you can have a number of different scenarios going here. So you may be doing an update once a month, and you may be taking a snapshot after that. You may be doing updates for turnarounds and taking snapshots every day. It's up to you. And that process, as Nicole said, can be automated. So what I'm going to show you here, you don't even need to worry about doing it manually, but you can do it manually if you need to take another snapshot. And I just want you to be aware of how easy it is to do. So if I've got my October, I've got my November, and I can see differences here, but we've been doing updates all along, and now we're ready to take a snapshot, do our last bit of updates, take a snapshot for December. So all I have to do here is go into P6. This is the file that I want to do the updates in. I'm just going to activities like you always do. And we basically don't have a lot of updates, but I do have an extension to this survey activity. So we'll just show you a quick change here. So this survey activity needs to go to 1 month out, basically February 13th. And then I'm just going to reschedule. Now, if that's all the updates you need to do, which in our case it is, we're ready to take our snapshot. And all we have to do, because all the parameters are set up once, and normally you don't have to go in and change anything. So if I wanted to go and run another snapshot, all I have to do is let the software know, first of all, what snapshot period am I creating? Well, I'm just going to go down here and I'm looking for, I realize the dates are a little old, but it works the same. This is the snapshot period. And then other than that, all I'm going to do is there is a run message here. I normally take this out just because it makes it easy to see when it's gone through. It'll give you it's passed, or if there was any kind of issue with the snapshot, it's going to give you information here that's going to help you understand what the problem is. And then I just say go. And at that point, the software is going to go and create a December 15th snapshot for this particular file. Now, it takes a couple of minutes, but it does not take, great amounts of time. And you can take a turnaround file that is I'm just using turnaround as an example because I deal with a lot of turnaround schedules, but you can have other files as well. Whether it's construction, whether it's capital project, whether it's turnaround, you can take a very, very large schedule and create a snapshot very easily. Once you've got the snapshot created, you're in a position where you can easily go and update dashboards you've got created, reports on particular items that you've created. Maybe you want resource reports. Maybe you're looking for just a high-level dates comparison. Maybe you want to update a green up report, and I will show you a couple of those. And those are reports that I really find it all makes it all a lot more handy. But for the green up reports, that can be a monster if you're doing it manually. It really can be, along with a lot of other reports as well. But I know I've worked turnarounds where for the green up reports, we had people come into the boardroom where we were having our meetings half an hour before the meeting started so that they could update basically the roll up of the green up reports, which was being manually done on a big sheet of paper on the wall. Now you can of course run those off of your schedule, but you have to make sure that you've got updates, coding correctly, all that kind of thing. This does all that type of scenario. You just need to make sure your updates are in there correctly, reschedule it, do your analysis. It's a way to the races with it. So snapshot has run. So I'm just going to go out of here. So it's created this new snapshot for us. So if I wanted to go in and see what that looks like here, I can go in and I can pick the December one, and I can go to, this is the one we changed, now out at 2nd of December as a finish date. If I go back to P6 just for a second, I'll just show you where that corresponds. 2nd of December 2022, sorry, at 1600. So it's picked up the change and any other changes that were there from rolling updates that we might have done, and it's all there. Now you can see a very direct comparison between months. This is the 10th. Now, if you find it easier, you want to compare November to December, you can go ahead and do that as well. So you can show whatever information you need to show here, and it will allow you to perform basically side-by-side comparison. Now, I find this kind of thing very, very handy because I've had to, in a number of projects that I've been involved with, I've had to create this type of comparison out of P6. It's not that you can't, but I'll be honest, it's a lot of work. So if you take the snapshots, basically once these reports are set up, the snapshots are feeding it. So it takes the rest of that time-consuming, labor-intensive side of it out. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to show you, first of all, some of the dashboards we've got set up. Before I carry on too much farther, you'll see this says demo report drilling. So this example is off of drilling files, but keep in mind, this is food for thought. So you can create the breakdowns that you require on your particular projects. So your coding may be a little different. You may be rolling up to different elements. It's all still available. So if I go to the management dashboard, now you'll see I've got a list of upcoming, budgeted hour status by team and project, because these drilling files have team coding embedded in them. Now I can see late and early. I can see budget status, overallocated resources. Now I've got milestone trending. Now this is a big one on most projects, different types of milestones, but still a big element. So whether you're looking at a turnaround where you have management milestones and unit milestones and things like that, or whether it is drilling and you're looking for ready to license, ready to permit, final tie-in, this is going to give you very valuable information, and you can hover over any of these pieces and you can see by the baseline and remaining where are you at here with, of course, your current data date there. Now you've got similar information here for wells. So for the wells, overallocated hours, hours allocated for the drilling crew, Surface land start, ready to license well site. These again are milestones that it's tracking. And you've got the Gantt piece on the bottom here. Now this is broken down to wells, roads, similar information. So I've got overallocated resources, I've got the Gantt chart, and I've got milestones across the bottom. And I've got the same thing for pipelines. But just keep in mind that these could be construction projects, they could be capital projects, they could be turnarounds. You can use these dashboards, configure them to give you the information at your fingertips that you need on whatever project that you are working on. So on the pipeline one, we have the pipeline crew and pipeline crew activities. So you can see what activities and against the time frame, where are they? Again, milestones. Ready to permit, surface land start, and final tie-in complete. Now, you may not be looking after just one project. You may need to look after a whole portfolio. Well, there is a portfolio report or dashboard here. And this particular one gives you a lot of different pieces of information at your fingertips. Again, keep in mind, if you have just your team, you may not be the person doing it, but they've just finished the updates for your portfolio. And you're looking to see, okay, where are things at here? What do I need to keep an eye on? What is going the way it should? So I can, yes, keep an eye on it, but not quite as close, perhaps. So now, if I look here, I've got upcoming. So similar to what we saw on a couple of the other dashboards, you can see what's upcoming. I've got over allocated resources. And don't forget, you can customize these with slightly different columns if you need to. This middle section, this is one that gives you a lot more information than what it appears right on the surface. So it looks kind of like we've just got columns, valuable columns, yes, but just columns across. Well, we do, but there's a few little tricks this particular one has up its sleeve that can be very helpful. So for one, if I'm looking to see what activities are actually showing an issue. So I've got a facility to be project here. This one, you'll notice that I'm going to go to it in a few places because of the fact that I know this facility to be was struggling. So the 11th of November, November 15th, reading it backwards there. So facility 2B, hours, they were over by 395 hours. So I could change my report date. In other words, look at a different snapshot, a newer snapshot, to see has that improved any. So depending where you are in the dates, you've got the other snapshots available. You can very easily go in and change. So I'll just show you what that looks like. And then I'll go back to, so you'll see as soon as I went to facility 2B, as soon as I went to December, yes, there's been some improvement here. So I'll just go back to November for a second here, and we'll carry through the rest of the portlets here. But you can see right away, and the color coding is going to draw your eye to elements that need your attention. So if I scroll down here, you'll see, yeah, hiding at the bottom of my list here is a number of other elements that I want to pay close attention to, basically. So these are my projects again in this first column. So I've got projects here that are over in duration. So I've got one here, 78.2% over, 50.7% over. So you can see where the dark color coding comes in. It's going to let you know right away that you've got something there that you need to pay some pretty close attention to. So if I wanted to resort this, I can do that as well. So if I wanted to sort by percent complete. You can just click on the column header and it's going to resort this information. Now, same thing with duration percent over. So you can resort. So you've got all the ones that have issues at the top of your screen. Makes it very easy to find it. And all the way across, that is functionality that's built into there. Now, if I resort by project here, just the only reason I did that is so that we can easily see facility 2B here, because we'll show you a couple other things about that in just a moment. Now, when I look at late and early, I've got a little portlet here that's showing me of all the projects I've got in my portfolio, how many are late, on time, early. So you've got that at your fingertips. Budget status, same type of thing, on budget, under, or over. Now, in this case, there is information on projects by project manager. So if you've got different project managers on your projects, you can definitely have a look at exactly what's going on there. Labor hours by drilling team. Now, I did say these are drilling files. So they've got drilling teams assigned in there. So I've got north, east, central, south. Any of these pieces that you see in the portlets, you simply need to hover over them if you want a little more information that might be a little easier to read. You can see what's going on there. Now, budgeted hour status by team and project. Well, I've got teams here, and I've got the number of projects at the side. So north here has 37 on budget. They've got 3 under budget and they've got 1 over budget. So again, you can roll up the statistics in whatever configuration is going to be the most useful to you. Now, there is another thing I want you to be aware of here, because it can be very handy as well. I did mention that you can change your report date just by clicking the drop down and click another snapshot date. But I can also, and depending on what files you're using, this runs off the configuration of your file. So you can set up filters on different coding structure in your files that I perhaps don't have in these files. But for example, if I wanted to see only the projects that a certain team has, I could go in and I could say, okay, I want to see central ones only. And you can see what it does. It's going to refilter everything. So the central team is all you're looking at here. So just be aware of some of the functionality that's in here. It can be extremely handy. And you'll notice that you don't have to go back to P6, open a number of files, make sure you've got the right filter in there, make sure you've got the right information displaying on your screen. This is set up and it is processing the information the same way each time the snapshot is updated, a new one is made. So you're comparing apples to apples all the time. Now, I did mention this facility 2B. Well, if I want to see where any one of these projects sits in my portfolio, another thing I can do is I can just click on that one. And you'll notice what it does. It's telling me it's in the late. We kind of knew that from the labor hours, but it's late, and you can see it shows up in the over budget. It is in the central team, and here's the over budget in the central team. That is our facility 2B, and Bob Beagle is our project manager. So you can click on projects and have it highlight where they are in the other portlets. To get them all back, you just click on that again. So that particular one, if you're looking at portfolios, this dashboard gives you a lot of information. So you can set up a number of filters across the top like we do and get very creative with what you want to focus on. It's all right in front of you. You don't have to say, okay, I need to know what's going on in the central team, so I need to request a number of different reports, or I need to go into P6 and run a bunch of different reports. That is all drill down capability and filtering capability here. Now, what if I want to look at this and I'm not in the portfolio scenario? I've moved past that. It is a specific project or projects that I want to look at, but I want to look at each project by itself. Well, we have project detail here as well. Here's an overview. Now, this is our facility 2B. And you can see it's picking up, in this case, in the portfolio, we had a list of projects. Of course, we're at the project level now. So this list is activities, but similar information, percent complete, total cost over or under. We've got labor hours, we've got duration. So you've still got very, very useful information at the activity level now. And you've got the roll-ups on the left side here. So you can see CPI, SPI, you've got duration, you've got labor hours, and percent complete. Again, in this scenario as well, I could go in and I can change the snapshot I'm looking at, or I can change the project I'm looking at. I'll leave it on facility 2B for the time being. But if I go in and I want to see, okay, how are they doing as of the December snapshot? It's that easy to change over and see it. So you've got some very, very easily accessible information. And as you build your snapshots, the older ones don't start disappearing. So you can go back and you can do a progression type of scenario through if you want to. Maybe you've looked at something and you're thinking, okay, 2 months ago, where was this project? I'm thinking it was in this situation, but was it really? You just need to go and refer to it. You've got all that information there. Now, critical path. This is also at the project level. Now, this again is my facility 2B project. Kind of focusing on that because, as I told you in the beginning, I know this particular project in November was struggling. So it makes it pretty easy going through these dashboards to see, as of the December snapshot, have things improved? So we've got criticality level. Right now we're looking at all of them, but you can deselect and you can select just the float is equal to 0, that kind of thing. Your whole dashboard will change. I'll go back to all of them for now. So when I select all of them, I have got percentages here. So completed 7, critical, total float less than or equal to 0, 8, not critical 13. So it's a small file there. It's just a demo example, so it's not huge, but it would roll up your entire file even if you had a few thousand activities in there. Now, when I look at my list at the right side here on the top, I've got WBS. I've got activity ID, name, start, float, and criticality level. Now, again, here I can scroll up and down, but just keep in mind, if you're looking to get, for example, all your criticality level together, just click on the top. Now I've got all the critical, all the not critical, and we've got completed in this case as well. So it's very easy. If I want to resort by activity ID, just click on the top of the column. And you'll notice in the bottom, we've got the Gantt chart. Now, this Gantt chart is showing us the activities. Color coding is the same, so you can see where these activities actually sit against your time scale. So if I scroll down, you can see what's going on here. Now, this, of course, is where our data date is, in case you're looking at wondering why I've got green and then the green gets lighter. You do have the data date sitting in that area as well. So we can slice and dice, change the snapshot, change the project we're looking at. Now, resource allocation. This is one that I find all of these very useful, but this is one that I use quite often, this type of display, because in this case, I have got the snapshot still on November, which is fine. You can still change the snapshot if you choose to. My screen is just a little, there it is, just a little slow on refreshing that one for whatever reason. We've got over allocated hours. Now we've got resources. I'm showing pipeline crew. Now I could change this to any of the resources in that list. First of all, let's walk through pipeline crew. So you can adjust the time scale. I'll leave it at the current year just so we can see some of the things we can highlight across here. If I make it too small, they won't be able to show up. So now I've got, for the pipeline crew, it's automatically showing me the projects that require the pipeline crews. And it's showing me in the Gantt chart on the bottom right. Now, you might look at this and think, okay, yeah, and understood. To me, at first, I thought, okay, nice display, but what else can I do with it? Well, maybe there's a project in here that I'm looking to see where does their pipeline crew requirement fall in the timeline. Well, if I want to do that, just click on Facility 2B, and I can see this is where their requirement for the pipeline crew sits. And you can see on the bottom right, it's changed to just showing me this particular one. Now, this may or may not be something that is handy for you, but what I've done in some cases when we're looking at potentials for, okay, I have an overload of resources, but where can I make the adjustment? What is the best project to move? This isn't the only criteria you would be looking at, but it can help you kind of place in your mind very easily, where do these resources need to be? So if I said, okay, my high priority is Facility 2B, but I also need, you'll see it's highlighting them as I go. I need these first two projects. And if I go down, and it'll be able to show you exactly where you start to go into the overload. Now, you would know the prioritization on these codes, so you know which one could be potentially moved. See, if I add this one, I'm into the overload, that kind of thing. But perhaps if I took some out and added another one in, you may be able to get to the same level. So it can give you some very valuable information that way as well. Now, we did talk about milestones. So milestone trending, milestones are always a big part of every project. You need to be able to meet your milestones. If milestones are slipping, you need to know about it. You need to be given the opportunity to do something about it if you can. So milestone trending, again, we've got all the filtering across the top, so you can do selections in there. But looking at the milestone trending here, these milestones are tagged. Now, most projects do have tagging on milestones. The nomenclature may be different depending on the type of project you have. But for example, for turnarounds, you've got management milestones, you've got unit milestones, you've got train milestones, things like that. In this case, because they're drilling projects, ready to permit is what we're looking at right now. But these are the other milestone types available. So just by clicking in here, you can look at any of those. Now I've got my data date, and anywhere that I hover here, it's giving me information. So I've got baseline remaining, that kind of information is available. I have a list of milestone dates, projects, and the status. Now, that may not be the most convenient way for you to look at these, because maybe you're looking to do a comparison. And clicking over to, for example, December and November may be a little clumsy, might not be as easy as you want it. So I've got milestones side by side available. So if I go in here, you can see I've got October and I've got November. So you can take this example is final tie-in complete, but you can choose whatever milestone type you're looking for, and you can compare the snapshots that you want to compare as far as where are these sitting. And you can see from October to November, yeah, there's a little bit of difference here. Now we also have a Gantt chart. Now this is the Gantt chart. It's showing based on resources. Right now we're showing everything. I still have the filters above, but for example, if I wanted to just find out where are my drilling crews, that's where they are. Maybe I'm looking for pipeline crews. I can show those as well, or take the drilling crews off, show pipeline by itself. So this is very customizable depending on what pieces you want to focus on, right up to showing all the resources. We already looked at the racetrack here. Now, we do have some reports, and I'm looking at the time here. So we do have some reports that I would like to give you a quick look at in Tableau. This is Power BI, of course. So I'm just going to minimize this, and I'm just going to bring up Tableau. So if you prefer to use Tableau, it doesn't mean that you can't have very similar reports. So I won't go through all the details here. It's very similar to what you saw in Power BI, but you've got your report date, that's your snapshot date. You can pick by different filters that you can slice and dice by. Combined portfolio, upcoming, here's my central list of projects with the color coding. Now in Tableau, there is another piece in here as well. You'll see you've got the little icons. You've got a red triangle pointing up. I've got a blue triangle pointing down. Those are trending indicators. So it's even giving you insight into that piece, into trending as far as that goes. So you have a lot of information available about your portfolio, along with cost, projects early, late, by PM. This part very similar to what you saw in the Power BI one. We do have the project details as well. Slightly different configuration, but project details. And there is one here that I find extremely handy, and it's one you may or may not have seen here. Resource allocation. So I've got, in this case, percent for all projects and percent for the selected project. So percent for all projects for the selected project, but you'll notice it's giving you a heads up here. I've got a problem because 247%, yikes. So the limit is 1860. All projects are saying they need 4,590. So it's very, very good at giving you a very visual lead as to there's a problem here I need to look at. So we've got resource allocation as well. This is similar to what we were looking at in Power BI. It's showing you resource profile, resource allocation. Milestone trending. These are the ones I wanted you to have a look at before we wrap things up here. Now, these are what we call green up reports. Again, you can change the snapshot date, but you may look at this and think, well, doesn't it look like too much of a report? These particular pieces, the relief valve summary and the control valve summary, of course, these are being generated from a turnaround schedule. And just in case we have anybody with us who doesn't live in the world of turnarounds, they're more on capital projects or construction projects. Just so you're aware, these particular small displays, one for the relief valve summary, one for control valve summary, those could have thousands of activities being rolled up to give you this view. Because what this does is it lets you know, okay, where am I with valve removed, valve in shop reinstalled, control valve disconnected, removed, valve in the shop, install valve, instrument electrical connected and checked out, that kind of scenario. And this gives you a bird's eye view as well. If you've got pieces that are 100% and other pieces that are not statused yet, there's a couple things there. Is there something included in the schedule that is no longer required, or is there status missing? So those kind of things, that makes it very easy to see at a glance what's going on. Now, this is our valve green ups. We could do the same thing, piping summary and exchanger, the exchanger data. Now, this piping summary, I always remember on turnarounds, I have actually been in turnaround boardrooms where they were not using this kind of scenario, and they actually had people come in and color code them with pens on a big chart on the wall before the meeting started. Well, this way, everybody's got the same information, and it's all done from the update on the activities into the schedule. You don't have to go and do something manual afterwards to let everybody have the view that they need. So now, inspection green ups. Now, when you're dealing with inspections on turnarounds, on construction, on pretty much any kind of project, this is also something you need to keep close track of. So this, again, gives you a roll-up view of where your inspections are sitting. And you're going to know right away if, okay, something is not tracking the way it should. It's going to cause a delay. Gives you a chance to address it and do something about it if you can. Now, we have a racetrack by discipline. This is just another example of the ways you can roll up your information. And of course, exactly how you're going to roll up your information does come from your type of project, the coding structure, your schedule, that kind of scenario. But we've got the systems, the function, and then across the time scale, where are these happening? So again, it's a roll up, so it gives a high level view at your fingertips. And racetrack by function. Same idea, but this is the systems, and we're looking at disciplines. So engineering, procurement, fabrication, construction, commissioning. So this is giving you all that rolled up information, which could be thousands of activities, and you can focus on the breakdown the way you need to see it. I hope that's given you a little bit of food for thought on some of the dashboards and reports that you could give your team access to and help to streamline and ease the reporting piece. Thank you.
All right. Hey, Mary Lynn, I know you jumped out, but do you think you can show the QA one just real quick? Because that one, what I like about that one is it's a slider type of graph. James, can you help her figure out where that is?
Can you point me in the right direction, James?
It's in Power BI, and I think it's in QA.
Oh, okay. So
what
it's
I like about
that, it's not an app. Okay.
I think so. What I like about that one is it's a slider type thing, so it's counting all the activities and color coding. So I think that one's also good food for thought for the team. Okay, so just to highlight a few points that Mary Lynn made. So that inspection manager report, you know, that is a real game changer. If you're in a turnaround, the inspection group, they have to be very dynamic, very flexible, because things can change. So that can be color coded with different colors for each day so that they know what's coming very easily. So that works really well. instead of giving them a big Gantt and trying to get them to understand a Gantt chart. So that we've used very successfully. And then I think she already touched on how many thousands of activities can be in those green-ups. And then the prioritizations that she was mentioning for the milestones, etc. You can use the project priority in P6, or you can have a code at the project level to do that. Okay, so there's lots of different ways to do that. Okay, if you can't find it, Marilyn, not a problem. We can do it in another.
I have the P6 report. I've got a number of reports here, though.
That's okay.
Okay,
it's
one
okay.
is notebook, one's DCMA, and one is activity variance.
Yeah, just pop it on the screen, and then I think we can probably get you to the right place. Sounds like
okay, just one sec. I just need to change it to my other screen. Sorry, I didn't have this one on.
No, that's okay. What I like about that one is the flavor of it and how it looks. I think it's quite handy for a variety of things. Now we're going to show it to you with our QA tool data, but you can use it with other things. So I think that one's quite a good one as well.
Okay, this is where I'm at for P6QA, but what I'm curious, which one of these is it?
Should do the second one, the DCMA stacked bar.
Okay, thank you.
Nope.
Yeah, grab the top one there.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, that's it. That's what I wanted to show. So what I like about this one on the right is, you see we've got a total number of activities, and then we're showing in this case that it failed the logic. So 55 of them. So it gives you a nice visual of how many have this problem, how many have high float, how many have high duration. So I really like this kind of a graphic. It's very easy for anyone to understand, whether you got a big problem or a small problem. And so that's why I wanted to show that one. So I think it's quite a nice kind of visual. And again, this is using our P6QA tagging, flagging, and displaying it, but you could use this for other things as well. Okay. Thanks, Mary Lynn, for just winging it. But
you're welcome.
Yeah, that one I
Thanks,
really
James.
find helpful. So, okay, let me, I think there weren't any questions that I saw. So I'll take back control and we'll wrap it up. If you do have questions, just throw them in the question room, and Mary Lynn, James can probably handle them. All right. It might help if I go back to sharing. All right, here we go. Okay, so Mary Lynn showed you how the tool works in detail. She explained how we snapshot. She showed you pretty much how complicated it is to snapshot. It's very simple. And if you automate the snapshotting, meaning it's going to do it every day, you don't even have to do those steps. Okay, so that's also an option. But of course, in a webinar, we actually do it manually. So some of the benefits that, well, we've got numerous clients using these tools, and the benefits are usually wrapped around efficiency. Okay, how easy it is to get the reports done. And again, if you've been in turnarounds or capital programs where you're trying to report regularly, getting the reports clean, accurate, and out on a regular basis can be stressful. Okay, so this takes a lot of that stress away. So the team is working on making sure the updates are in properly and trying to critique where we could improve the schedule. That should be our focus, not producing graphics all the time. Okay, so this takes that burden out of the way. It's you can produce a lot more data, and I think hopefully the green-ups kind of conveyed that in a much more intuitive user interface. So not only can I see where there's busts in my updating, okay, so if I've got a green on the right and there's red all on the left, something doesn't make sense. So that highlights it very quickly. And it also produces a lot of data in a very easy to use manner. So it's much more accessible. They don't need to be P6 experts. Of course, from the management perspective, right, now they're going to have much better data, much more visible for them to make comparisons and make decisions, better decisions. That's what we're trying to drive to, right? That's the whole point of using all this stuff in P6, is to get that data out to the people who need to critique it, make decisions, and maybe rework schedules, reprioritize, things like that. The accuracy is the big thing here. Okay, so I've seen some of our clients use stuff in Excel, and then you poke holes in the way they're doing things, and they didn't even realize they had gaps in data. So this is the biggest part that I find very valuable, is the ability to actually get the data correctly out of P6, which is not easy to do if you're just using Excel dumps, and to do it seamlessly and accurately. Okay. One of our big contractor clients were spending months trying to get the data out, and they gave up. Okay. So then they started moving into the P6-Reporter realm because we had it with immediately. Okay. So that's the challenge when you're trying to go to the back end tables. Not all the data is in the tables in the first place. And then you can combine P6 data with other data. That's the great thing about putting it out to the corporate dashboard. Okay, good. So I don't see any questions, so I'll stop recording here.